this mind, right? Our mindset right now in this market is so momentous, and it's up to us to really kind of just pay attention and not let all of the craziness that's happening out there affect our businesses, our families, our health, etc. So I'm just a firm believer in mindset. And when Dave asked me to do this, I'm like, what am I going to talk about? Got it. And this is something I'm really just pouring into right now for myself, for my team, for my business. And I thought it'd just be great to bring one of the best people I know in the mindset space, Rene Rodriguez. So Renee, many of you probably know him. For the last 20 years, Renee has researched and applied behavioral neuroscience as a dynamic keynote speaker, leadership advisor, world-class sales expert, and renowned speaker coach. He believes that we are only scratching the surface of what is really possible, and that every profession can benefit from fully engaging human mind and brain. His company has trained more than 100,000 people, and I am one of those people, in applying behavioral psychology and neural leadership methodologies to solve some of the toughest challenges in leadership, sales, and change. Welcome, Rene Rodriguez.
I'm just going to bring you everywhere, Kelly. You can just do my intro. It'll be my hype person everywhere. Thank you. It's always so good.
I'll be a groupie for you.
No, I think we're all groupies of Kelly Zitlow, and let's just be honest here.
Oh, please.
We're just pretending we're not.
Well, Renee, thank you so much. I know I told you I had this idea at like 2:30 in the morning when Dave asked me to do this, and he's like, you can interview anybody, you can talk about anything. And I really thought about it, and I was like, you know, what's important, what's relevant, and then who would I interview? And it came to me about 2:30 in the morning. I woke up, I was like, wrote it down on my nightstand, and then I texted you at like 6 the next morning. So thank you so much for taking time to just empower us and pour into us and tell us what we need to know about mindset. You ready to get started?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay, cool. So now that the market has shifted, the real estate market, how important is mindset over us in this profession? So real estate agents, loan officers, really anybody in the real estate services.
Well, I think the first thing we have to recognize is that we're talking about mindset all the time. And when we talk about any topic over and over and over again, we develop a callus to it. It becomes cliche. And I firmly believe that the answers to life are found in cliches. And because the first time we hear them, it wasn't a cliche, it was something that was profound. And it was so profound that we started using it over and over and over again. And unfortunately, the way we're built, familiarity breeds contempt of ideas as well. And so how important is mindset? It's everything. Because your mindset determines your reality, and your reality determines your behavior and how you behave within it. And we've all seen the situation where we walk into any meeting, a networking thing, and one person walks out and says, that was fantastic. There's so many opportunities everywhere. And the other person walks out and said, we're doomed. I don't know what we're going to do, but this is all over.
Yes.
Which one's true? And there's one thing, yeah, exactly. They're both true. Well, the one that's true is the one that we believe. Yeah. Right? And then I always look at it and say, well, what determines the one that I believe? It's the one that I trust. And so then I go, okay, so how do I become the trusted source of what's actually happening? And I think that's what we're here to talk about, but begins internally first. What do you believe about the market? And I think that'll be a fun discussion to saying, how do we see markets like this versus how other people are trying to formulate it?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So what I personally see is, I've been lending for 26 years and we've been through many market cycles, and this is just another market cycle. I think for all of us in real estate and lending, the last 2 years have probably been the biggest, most chaotic time in our careers. And if you're just getting into the business and that's what you came into, it was like, whoa, right? So now it's a shift. It's time for us to take a step back, focus on what we need to do in our business today, because what our business needed 2 years ago or a year ago, or even 6 months ago was completely different than what it needs today and what our sphere needs today. So let's kind of walk through that. That's my perspective, but give me your 2 cents.
Well, I think first and foremost, let's get clear on what's happening in the market. We're not in a downtime, we're in a normal time. And so before was an abnormal time. We were in la la land. Money was everywhere. Interest rates were on the floor. You could trip over and start getting loans. It reminded me of 2002 and 3 in terms of that, when it was just that simple. We would fax out fax machines, 50, 60 applications, come back the next day. We wouldn't think about them, had no way of following up. We'd come back the next day and there'd be like 30 or 40 of them filled out. And people that we were like, oh, wow, 16 people went online and just filled something out. Cool, let's close these deals.
Right.
There was no real value creation. And what happens when business becomes that easy, we all enter, me included, a consoling illusion that we've actually created and uncovered value. No, we were just in a very opportunistic time, and you should take advantage of that as well. But it's like losing weight when you're young. It's super easy. But as you get older, you actually have to look at caloric deficit. Well, the same way, anybody can make money in a great market. Well, what about when interest rates are more competitive? A little bit more equal, a little bit higher, a little bit higher. Well, now we got to get into true value creation. And that's what I think you mean by getting back to the basics. And the basics are, well, I'm asking for this, and I better generate value that is incremental to what I'm asking for. I better communicate an actual need. I will better be able to stand out from other people doing and saying the same thing. And so how do I do that? And that's what we mean by getting back to basics. Basics. This isn't advanced, by the way. Basics.
Absolutely. So walk us through that. Tell me about communicating to our spheres and that true value part of that process. When we think about basics, this is what you're saying. So what should we be doing right now?
So the first and foremost, can we get a little nerdy for a minute too, and just understand what? Okay, perfect. We need the mortgage nerd on here too, right? If I have my glasses, let's see. Can I do the representing Denise here? Okay, so let's talk about what the actual basics are. So when we're talking about what's happening in the market, we have to understand how we interpret it. Mm-hmm. And for us to do that, going back, and some of you watching this may have seen me talk about it, but I don't think this is a topic that we can talk about enough. And it's called the narrative gap. And so we have to understand how we process information and what's very similar to what just happened right there. And so now I'm sure Robert just sort of freaked out there for a minute. Maybe some of you that are watching saying, what happened? Those of you who've seen me do this before are going, he's doing it again, but I might've got you for a second there. So what happened? I was talking and all of a sudden something caught my attention and I go off screen. But what I want you to pay attention to is, what did your brain start doing? I'm going to make sure I'm keeping an eye on these chats here. What did your brain start doing? What happened? Where did you go? Now, Kelly, you've seen me do this before, or did you forget, or did you remember?
No, I remembered. I'm like, just be patient. Let's give him a few seconds. And I'm sure that he's got a plan. That's where my brain went.
Now, good. I'm sure that he's got a plan. See, I've known Kelly. She's known me long enough to know that Renee is always up to something. And so that means that her past experience came in and filled the narrative gap, thank God, through my benefit. Now, if you're watching this, and I don't think we can see the chat, but if you can chat, start putting in the comments what you felt happened. And for the countless other times I've done this, I feel I was confused, I was upset, I was concerned. Some people say I felt abandoned. I felt like it was unprofessional. I felt like I didn't matter to you. I felt all of these things. See, what happens in a situation like that is that we're living this sort of narrative journey through things, right? And what happens is when we reach this gap, our brain does not deal in this gap at all. And it goes and immediately fills the gap. The question is, what does it fill it with? Mm-hmm. Well, it fills it with an assumption. But the bigger question is, well, what kind of assumption does it make? What's the source of that assumption? And that's where things get really interesting. Well, let's take a look at this. Go to a meeting and the CEO doesn't show up. One person says, oh, they didn't show up? Probably out getting another yacht. I don't know how many yachts they need. Well, that's definitely one way to fill the gap. Yeah. The other person says, no, hold on a second. If John's not here, I know how much he values his team. Something must be wrong. Let me check on him. Same scenario, two completely different narratives. Now, what fascinates me is, why did this person say the yacht, and why did this person say, I wonder if he's okay? Because that determines how they both constructed reality. Why does somebody say this is a great market? And why does somebody say this market is horrible? Well, those are two different ways to construct reality. Well, what are the constructs? The past beliefs that they have built on the narratives that they choose. And so I look at right now, when you say mindset over the market, it's about what narrative are you choosing? So the one that I always give is this. You ask me what I think about the market, and I'll tell you the same thing. If right now it would begin to rain, we're all in a room, it begins to rain. Who's getting wet? All of us. But now Kelly and John and so on and so, if they have umbrellas, pull out the umbrellas, they're going, oh man, I just love it when it rains like this. The sound of the raindrops hitting the hitting my umbrella and just, oh, look at this lightning in the background and the cloud formations. I'm sitting here in a new suit. I just got out of the cleaners. My hair is getting wet when I had hair, and all that stuff's happening, and I'm pissed and I'm drenched, and I don't like this experience. Well, you guys are sitting there happy. Well, you're happy because you were prepared for something. Same is true if the lights went out. Who would it get dark for? It would get dark for everyone.
Right.
Now, for me, I love it when the lights go out, because what it does is it reveals who is prepared and who is not. See, when the lights are on and customers are buying, you can't tell who has the right operations, who has the best technology, because no matter what you do, you're going to make sales. But as soon as the light goes out, I'm looking for who has the flashlights. Who are the ones that are prepared with the tools to be able to navigate the darkness? And guess what? If it's dark and you put a flashlight on, you can see.
Right.
And for those that can't, they're in trouble. And so for how do we communicate into a marketplace? It's symbols of hope. Because right now, there's two organizations that understand the power of controlling the narrative source. And that's the media and politics. And they go based on what the most powerful motivator is, which is negativity. Tapping into what we call negativity bias. Negativity bias is something that is a survival mechanism. And if we back in the caveman days and we get out of our cave, we wouldn't get up and stretch. Oh, look at how beautiful it is out here. Oh man, smell of fresh. No, we'd get up and we'd go, my kids are still here. Okay, wife.
Right.
Okay. And they'd sneak out, listen for any animals, any little twig crack in the book, they'd look at it. Anything that was different, they'd see it. They're constantly looking for the negative. Does that mean they're negative people? No. They're managing risk. And that is ingrained in us, because the better you are at that, the longer you survive. And guess what? That never went away. And the media says, well, if we can scare people, politics, we can scare people, we're going to capture attention, which is the most important thing, because the attention creates reality. So that's their nerdy.
I'm so glad you said that, because I think there's so much to unpack there. And first and foremost, when I'm talking with real estate agents, when I'm talking with friends, family, and our clients, there is so much fear out there, and people are looking. So what you're saying is they're filling in this narrative gap with all that they're hearing, which is the fear coming through anytime you turn on anything, any device right now, right?
Yep.
The sky is falling. I mean, I saw a stat on foreclosures. Foreclosures are up by, I don't know, 200%. I'm like, well, if we had one last year and we have two this year, there you go, right? I mean, like,
exactly.
It's chunking this stuff down and really being the voice. And so I think two things personally. I think one, we got to get straight with the narrative that we're telling ourselves. So let's start there. What do we do? What are the tactics that we can do as individuals and people every day that we can set up ourselves for success to make sure that that narrative is what our community needs from us?
I think the most important right now is, who do you surround yourself with? Who do you spend your time with? Are you in communities like this where you're hearing real information from people that are really doing things? Or do you surround yourself with people that are in the media and follow the news in the media and politics? And so and this isn't the thing against media. Media, well, I'm not mad at the media. They're not a public service organization. They're in it to drive revenue.
Right.
I'm mad at us because we create the media. We create the media by feeding it our attention. You want to change the media? Starve it of attention, and they'll follow you. We're the ones in control. We are the media now. And with social media, I can put things out. So what am I reading? Mm-hmm. Am I conscious? Because the negativity bias only happens when we are not conscious of it. So by becoming self-aware, we realize saying, okay, hold on a second. I typically will gravitate towards negativity. Let me stop doing that.
Right.
And I catch myself, hey, stop doing it. And if I've got people around me that are going to be like, dude, Renee, get your head out of your ass. Stop it. Yeah. You know what? You're right. And you got people that'll catch it.
That just right there, what you said though, just like that intentional thought about how we're perceiving and how we're reacting to information, that's, I believe, what we can control. That it all starts right there. So if you're telling me something negative, or I'm reading something and I'm like, oh my gosh, we got to stop right there on the, oh my gosh, and that fear and that stress that comes, and tell ourselves a different story, find information that can answer, that can bring calm to the storm, and that type of scenario. And I'm doing that like every day, proactively setting it in my calendar so I can make sure what I'm putting in this brain is set up for me to have success and for those around me to have success.
I love that. I love it. You're saying intentional. And when you realize how much control we actually have, you start realizing that how much we can control. And if you're surrounded by people that are going to hold you to that, or versus you're surrounded by people that say, well, the market, they go, I know, are you seeing gas prices? Yeah, even milk is this way. And then somebody gets in, they start one-upping how negative shit is. And all of a sudden you start saying, well, you know what, I'm trying to do this. Well, oh yeah, have you tried paying for college tuition nowadays? And it's like this whole, who can be more negative? It's the old thing is, well, my back hurts. Yeah, well, my back hurts too. Well, I've got a ruptured L4, L5. Well, I've got L4, L5 and a cervical disc issue. Oh yeah, well, I've got sciatic nerve pain. Well, what the hell kind of conversation is this? Well, it's part of human nature. And to me, the first thing you do is, who are you around? And the second piece is, stop waiting for someone else to come and save you. Stop waiting for someone else to create the positivity. See, there's a decision I made a long time ago. If it's dark where I'm at, that is a symbol that it's my job to be the light. Let that sink in. When it's dark, most of us go, man, it's so dark here. I can't believe how tough the market is. No, it's dark, the tough, then be the light. Be the one that shows the way. The cavalry doesn't come because the cavalry is already here. The cavalry is us. Absolutely. And if you take that a philosophical approach, mindset approach to this, is saying when it's dark, that means I shine, versus when it's dark, I hide. And for you to even know who you are, you got to look in the mirror. Are you even willing to do that? I tell you, looking in the mirror sucks, because not always do we like what we see, but at least if we see it, we can change it.
Oh my gosh, I love that. It's my job to be the light. I think just say that to ourselves in the morning. So tactic number one, watch what you're thinking and being intentional with who you're listening to, what you're reading, and what you're pouring into your brain. And two, just say that affirmation every morning. It's my job to be the light today.
Yeah, and define light as opportunities and positive outcome. Here's what's going on. That doesn't mean that you don't prepare, by the way.
Yeah.
Sometimes being the light is, hey, this is a great time to cut some of your expenses.
Yep.
You know, this is a good time. This is called being smart. This isn't about being alarmist.
Right.
And guess what? And it would have been a good time to cut expenses when it was good, but it's just not in human nature. Parkinson's law says that we'll sort of expand our expenses to the money that we have, and we'll contract and we'll survive. But that's, again, when you're smart about it and you're a little bit more intentional, you can bypass some of those things.
Being tactical, right? We have to be tactical no matter what's taking place in the market. So, 2 years ago, when the Fed drops the Fed funds rate and interest rates start to really just plummet, and it's nuts and it's crazy. We had to be tactical at that time because we in the mortgage industry had never experienced anything quite like that. So we had to figure out a plan. Today's no different, right? So now we have to be tactical with a plan, but so much, I think, because now the fear is there. But if we think about it, I mean, everybody in the mortgage industry or real estate, let's think back to like March 2020, when the Fed drops the Fed funds rate, COVID is announced, we have to go home. All of this fear was there. It's just that because the faucet turned on, we were so busy, we didn't even have a chance to think about it. We just had to go into do mode, fix it mode, tactical mode. Now the faucet's turned down a little bit, and now we have to go into that same mode. It's just a different type of market.
Well, and I think people are, and when the faucet turns down a little bit, people stop collecting the water and start talking about how the faucet isn't doing it anymore. I'm like, well, keep your cup there, still filled. Right. Keep talking about how horrible the market is while I fill my cup.
Yeah.
Right? I just might have to hold it a little longer. That's it.
Yeah.
It's still water there. There's still stuff. And the other analogy I like to give people is you got to decide, what are your rules of your life? I learned at 18 years old, run when everyone else is walking. Just a simple rule. And here's what we can tell. We've been in a race for the last 3 years. And everybody's been running this race to collect business. I'm running as fast as I can, and I see my competitors to my right, my competitors to my left, some a little bit better than me, some a little bit behind me. And do you know how hard it is to gain market share and even just to beat somebody when they're all running fast? It's hard because you got to run their speed and then more. And most people are pretty much the same speed. But what if you're in this race and your competition stopped running? Couple things. One, human nature says you should stop running too. Negativity bias. Maybe there's something I'm not knowing. We don't like the unknown. But now you're smarter. If you can predict, hey, little fear in the market, people stop running, I get excited now because my competition stops running. I run faster. Because they stopped running, I can create a distance between me and them. And when I create that distance between me and them, And 3 months from now, when they say, well, I better start running again, I guess this isn't going away.
Yeah.
The distance I've created is unfixable. There's no way that they can change this. There's no way they can even begin to catch up to what it is that I've been doing. And at that point, when all of that starts taking over and they start running again, I have created so much space that they could stay up all night, run all week, and nothing will fix it.
Absolutely. And so we get back to that true value creation, right? That's how we separate ourselves, especially right now. So we got to keep one, running the race, but
Yes.
two, think about that value that we're bringing to, again, our business partners, our clients, our teams, ourselves, our families. Like, what are that true value kind of creation that you're talking about? Walk us through that.
Well, so value to me, and so what does it mean to keep running? Communicate more, market more, meet with more people, be the one that posts positive opportunities, get better at product knowledge so that you can pinpoint opportunities and creative techniques to say, you know what, if you do this, then you can do this. And even something as horrifically cliche as, marry the house, date the rate, it's horrifically cliche. Because it went out once and then everybody started saying it.
Right.
It doesn't diminish the idea behind it, which is fall in love with the home and the memories that come from it. And the rate is a short-term relationship that is something you should use and abuse. Meaning, use it for what you need, and when it gets better, dump it and get a better one. And guess what? As loan officers, you can tell them, I get paid to tell you when there's a better one. Promise you that. And so that concept and that idea, learn to tell stories. And I think you and I had this conversation when we met last, where I said, they'd say, well, how do you deal with this, the fact that people are saying, well, interest rates used to be 3%, the payment's going to be $150 more. Well, it's compared to what? And so I say, you know what? They say that question, play along with me, Kelly. I said, they'll say, well, it's going to be $150 more. I said, well, Kelly, you live in a house right now, correct?
Yes.
What's one of your favorite memories that you remember about being in your home where everything was clicking, all hitting on all cylinders, and everything was just, it was like, this was perfect. What's one of those memories for you?
I think it's just mealtime. I get so much joy out of feeding my family. It's kind of crazy, but literally that just brings me so much joy when we sit down together and I've made a home cooked meal.
Can you think of one specific one that stands out from the rest? Like a holiday or?
Yes, of course. Holidays are big in our family. So absolutely.
So tell me one. I want to hear a story of one.
So Christmas morning, we get up.
I don't want to hear general Christmas morning. There was this one Christmas morning. Think about a real
one Christmas morning where we were all gathered. So me, Dan, the boys, my extended family, and it was our last Christmas with my mom. And this is funny, but she was getting her quiche out of the truck to bring it in, and it fell and it shattered everywhere. And she made like the best quiche ever. And we never got to experience that last quiche. So that is in my head, that was 2019, but we went on and we just had such a beautiful meal and we giggled about the quiche, and it was magic. It was simple.
I love that. See, so Kelly, I don't have a memory like that. So I'd like to buy that memory from you. Would you sell that memory to me?
Absolutely.
You would sell it to me?
It would cost you $150 more a month though.
Well, but would you sell that memory to me though?
Never.
Never. Well, okay. $10,000.
Nope.
$50,000.
Nope.
$100,000.
Nope.
And so clearly it's one of those priceless moments, correct?
Absolutely. Yes.
And so I'm guessing that you've had more of those in the home that you're in right now. Is that true?
Oh yeah. Yes.
And the home that you're looking at right now, from what I remember in our conversations, you has the kitchen that you can actually entertain and the kids can be on the couch at the same time. So now that you're cooking for them, you're not away from them. It says you have the backyard where they can run around and you can put that playground that you've always wanted to put in there. And it has that closet. You told me that you feel like $1 million in that because you can see your clothes and you can choose them and your stress level goes down. And you and I both know that going into the workday with a little bit of less stress, feeling like $1 million has a massive impact on the business. So, if those things are not true, I'd say stay in the home you're in. But if what you're telling me is true, this new home is going to have incremental priceless memories. And I'm going to tell you this because I care about you, Kelly. Your eye is off the ball. You're willing to give up priceless memories over $150. I wish I could have bought Bitcoin when it was in the pennies. I wish I would have invested in Apple when they first came out. or Tesla when it first came out, but I didn't. Now, that does not preclude me from it still investing in those companies and making a fortune from them. And the same is true from your home. Financially, it makes sense, but also from a memory standpoint, it's why we do it. The days of 3% interest rates are gone. It's like me, well, if I would have bought Tesla, I will only buy then. You can't. You got to buy it now as is, and there's going to be a growth, and that's kind of where we are now. And so if what I said is true, let's keep our eye on the ball. So that right there is a narrative conversation to get people away from the media and this false comparison of what interest rates used to be
Yes.
to what it is now.
Yes.
We have to control
and I
the
think real
narrative.
estate agents and lenders can both do that. I think that if you're a lender on this call, share that right there, that soundbite with your real estate partners, and then share that with your team, because again, getting into that next level, when we just don't talk rate, right? We just don't talk rate and strategy. We have to know what's in their head and their heart, what that most important thing is. And just by asking really great questions, it leads us to being able to have deeper conversations.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I think the big statement there is for people to be able to say, now, if one, you have to understand why the person's looking at the home.
Yes.
Loan officers ask about the home. Don't just leave that to only the real estate agent. Agents should do that. And then if you know something, share it with agents, a partner on that conversation. And then get the information from the agent. Hey, what do they love about that home? Tell me about why in comparison. And now, guess what? If the agent didn't ask that question, and you're asking that question, the agent might go, you know what? That's a good question. I'll find out. You've added value to the agent. But you have to be able to say, now, if those things aren't true, then don't buy the home. Stay with where you're at. Because what you're trying to do is create the value of the incremental payment. But it's only incremental based on a chosen start point of the lowest possible rate we've ever seen in history.
Right.
So stop. This was a fluke. So we don't do that in stocks. Oh, I wish I would have, and we don't. No, we take where it's at. We see where it's going, and then we buy the difference. And that's what we're doing here too.
100%. I love that so much. And I think there's so many different ways that you can kind of connect those dots. We can't go back in time. I can't go back to when I was 25 and, be the person I was at 25. You can't go back into March 2020 and have the historic low interest rates that were caused by a pandemic and our federal government stepping in to intentionally make interest rates lower, right? So they purchased mortgage-backed securities. They did a variety of things just to keep the economy going. So we can't go back in time. 100%.
No, you can't.
About that.
And we all know this. When the moment of purchase is very different than the time of performance. The moment of purchase, we think about interest rates, we're thinking about all those things. But the time when we get there, we forget the interest rate.
Yeah.
We're just remembering the memories and the experiences and the feelings we have now. And that's what we're doing. Most people will not regret buying the home that they want.
I love that. So let's get into framing. I'm a big Amplify geek. I love it. I love going. I love the way I feel. I love my mindset when I come out of Amplify. And you talk about kind of three components. You talk about how we frame messages and then how we deliver the message. And then we talk about the tie down. Can you kind of just walk us through how we should be framing this type of market? So when we're a dinner party or we're sitting down with a client or a business partner, help us walk through the framing part of the conversation.
Well, I think I just gave you 6 of them, right? We began with starts raining and people wearing a raincoat. The lights go out and we've got a flashlight. We're running a race and your competitor stopped running. So the memory versus the priceless memories, those are all framing techniques.
Cool.
To get people to reframe a current situation. Okay. And so framing is the frame of reference that helps you construct the reality in front of you. And so if I'm framing what's in front of me, like I say, used car salesman, people say sleazy and dishonest and all sorts of negative things. Well, they only say that because of a past experience.
Right.
Now, some people will say they're amazing. My father was a used car salesman. So it's all about the past. And so we got to look at what past frames of references are we using to construct reality we have now, and then learn to listen to how people describe things. I interview, without anybody knowing, every single leader and loan officer and real estate agent I come across. I say, so what do you think about the market right now? Yeah. And what I'm doing, their answer tells me their frames of reference. It also tells me how they're behaving in the market. And
oh my gosh, stop. That was so good. Say that again.
So I am silently interviewing everybody that I meet. I say, how do you feel about the market right now? And I leave it very open. to what's going on. And their answer tells me everything that I need to know about how they're behaving into the market. If they give me a response, it's like, oh, man, this is a tough time. And I've never seen anything like this. I already know that their activities follow that same sentiment. And more importantly, now their loan officers are speaking the same way. And they're framing things just by tone of voice and energy level. And so who wants to buy into, well, would you like to buy the stock? Well, yeah, it's been a rough road for us as a company. And, we're just trying to make it through right now. Would you like to buy and invest in us? Hell no.
Right. But that's the opportunity right there, though. That's the opportunity for change. That's the opportunity for us to be the light. That's the opportunity for us to create tactical actions and help them through that moment. Like that is it right there. And
100%.
That's what I think, that we have to be intentional with that decision and that choice. We all
100%.
have it right now in this industry. Every single one of us have it. It's just, how are we responding to that question? One, and two, when we're talking with people and that's their response, how do we lead them through that?
So I'll back to you. So because I asked you the same thing and I loved your response. You've seen a few of these markets.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the market today, Kelly?
I think it's
honestly,
a great time to
honestly.
buy.
But honestly, what is your thing? Why?
Why? Because the last 2 years, buyers have been edged out unless they were able to remove all contingencies, unless they were able to compete with cash. I mean, it was awful. We had so many buyers that were pre-qualified that just lost out. So now there's more inventory, and now the market is changing to the point that now buyers have a chance. They have a chance to find that home so they can create memories, right? So that's the perspective. That's my perspective, and that's how I'm seeing it. But that's not in reality what people are thinking. They're thinking, oh my gosh, it's 2008 again. Oh my gosh, the market's going to crash. Oh my gosh, all this kind of stuff. So it's up to us to help them through that and provide the stats, the statistics, what we know, our experience, and change that narrative.
Mm-hmm. Well, they only believe that because they believe somebody else. And so then the question is how do you become, this is why you have a YouTube channel that creates you as a source that's credible, right? Because you say, okay, so what narrative? I believe X because of a narrative or a frame of reference that I chose. Well, what made me choose that? Well, I believe them. Well, why did I believe them? Because I trust them. And then I go, okay, how do I become the trusted source for the narrative gaps? And that comes through personal branding, that comes through video creation, that comes through your knowledge and expertise, your ability to get referrals, time and service, and how many people you've been helping, and how much you communicate into the marketplace. And then it's delivery. You can have all those things and deliver poorly.
Right.
But all of that stuff coming together with a strong, powerful delivery that you really, really have the conviction over, constantly over communicating this. So people see me in all different, Renee, I'm seeing you everywhere. Yeah, because I believe all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure it gets out to everybody. This is the opportunity for all of us to set that light. But when you say, well, I think right now is a great time to buy, and let me tell you exactly why.
Yeah.
Well, interest to this. Exactly. And you say it with a smile. We should train a lot of our clients are getting ready for Squawk Box or Cheddar or CNBC and tell them the media there isn't there as a helper to your business message. They're there to get some dirt. And so be ready for the curveball questions. And we would brainstorm, if I would try to make you look bad, what question might I ask you? And let's just say it was one question around, the need for better quality in the manufacturing process. And we would train those 2 at once. So, well, what do you have to say with, all of the defects in quality and the things that are going on? And if you watch the person's respond, they're going, and the answer is already done. Our clients, they say, what do you think about the defects and all the challenges we're having for quality? And they're starting to smile. They say, you know what? You're asking the exact question. In fact, I'm so glad you did, because the market needs to understand that quality and everybody in this space needs to say quality is number one. And that's the reason that we've engaged in our quality initiatives for 2023. And the things that we're doing at this is going to set this industry apart regardless of the product line. We're going to be across the board. And so I am so glad you're bringing attention to something so important. And all of a sudden they're like, now the reporter can't turn that one around because now they seem like an asshole. And so it's there, but it's also the narrative of what's going on. We're responding with our bodies, our tone, our knowledge, all of it. Start to master it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Talk to me about stress.
How
do we manage it?
Well, I think the first thing you have to do is understand it. Stress is a physical response. It's designed to keep you alive. It's also designed to capture your attention. If you're going up and playing baseball and you have no stress going up to bat, you're not going to be as strong. You're not going to be as focused. Everything's not going to function on all cylinders. A little bit of cortisol to get you focused and attentive and to see things is a good thing. Now, just like anything, too much of something has a diminishing return. And that's where your muscles begin to constrict, your muscles begin to tighten, your blood vessels constrict, and you begin to get higher blood pressure, and you can't focus. So being able to understand that that is a physical process, which means it needs a physical solution. And so what ends up happening is that we feel these physical things, and then we start putting thought narratives to them. Right. I'm stressed. This is not going to work out. Oh my God. Well, sometimes you're just hunched over and you stopped breathing. So the number one tool, and what I say the secret weapon of every top performer, is breathing. And unfortunately, breathing is the punchline of the underperformer. You watch Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, the best golfers in the world, people that are looking at somebody, staring at thousands of faces, or looking at, a sprinter, Usain Bolt, about to run the fastest any humans ever run. And they're just breathing. And there's several different breaths that I can show you in a second here, but breathing is that secret weapon so that their body can function, so their brain connects to their body and they can deliver what it is that they know. Navy SEALs are the elite of the elite under the highest stress possible, which is life and death. Right. And they say that breathing is their superpower because they can be in the middle of battle and just breathing. And everybody else is in chaos while they're relaxed. And they say slow is steady and steady is fast. Now, the brain doesn't know if you're being shot at or if you're facing 3,000 eyeballs willing to judge you in front of a room. It's the same physical response. Same as if you're approaching a prospect or making a cold call. It's the same physical response. So learning how to breathe, learning that posture can make things. And when you're sad and you're set, your body will follow. You can also change how you feel by changing how you stand. The simplest breathing technique, the one you hear a lot about, is box breathing. That would be a pretty advanced technique. I like dimorphic breathing, which would be a very strong breath through the nose. Hold it for a count of 1, 2, and then 8 seconds out. Now I make that noise as a feedback loop to be able to count. You don't want to go, that is hyperventilation. If you breathe out,
you don't want that.
You don't want that. You breathe out faster than you breathe in. That's the equation for hyperventilation. So big, deep breath in. You can even get into the maximum way of doing it is 2 deep breaths. And then you feel this coolness go through your whole body. But it's immediately the fastest way to trigger your parasympathetic nervous system. The other is a sympathetic nervous system, which we don't want. So breathing is the solution to stress.
I love that. And stress is caused, it's a physical response to probably, I might add, what is going on in our brains, right? The mindset, which is why we're here today. So if you're 100%. Feeling stressed, one, breathe it through, pause. I'm a big pauser these days. I wasn't a pauser 30 years ago, but I pause now. I'm like, oh, what am I feeling? Is that appropriate for the situation? Why am I feeling that? I'm just really trying to breathe through and think through the reaction. Yeah. And then, finally, it all comes back to who are we surrounding ourselves? What are we reading? What are we listening to? And what is our choice in this time? And it's not just this time, it's like any time. Guess what? Yes. This moment is going to be gone in about 30 seconds, right? And then the market's going to change. It's going to look different a week from now, a month from now, a year from now. And all of what we're talking about right now is going to be relevant because it all comes back to who we are and our choice to be and act and grow. And I'm big on just the personal growth thing, right? Absolutely. Which is why I follow you, which is why I'm reading your book. And yes. Which is why I invest in listening to people that are experts on this type of thing. And with that, guys, your sphere, you're the expert on real estate. You're the expert on mortgage lending. And people are needing to hear your opinion and your thoughts and your strategies and your take. So I would ask you, what are you doing today to make sure that you're touching your sphere, your business partners, those that might be fearful? And what are you saying?
I love that. Yeah, I have nothing to add to that because I agree 100%. Watch who you're around, look at what you're saying, control that. And if you just change who you listen to and who you hang around, it changes everything, because you'll start seeing things you didn't see before.
Absolutely.
There's
So, Renee,
massive
who are you
opportunity.
listening to? Tell us, who are you listening to? Who are you following? Who's inspiring you? Who are you learning from today?
So many different people right now. Dr. Andrew Huberman, Jordan Peterson, you, Dave Savage, there's anything that helps me see things in a little different light. Yeah. I'm learning. I send things to Alec Hansen and Brian Covey, two of the most positive people that I know, and saying, hey, this person said this. What do you think? What's going on? And listen to people that are giving me information that I can act upon and giving me new knowledge. And those that are there's a whole group of people out there that are super alarmist. And my first question is, okay, what do they have to gain from this? It's always the first question, because I don't care who's been in president. I don't care what the interest rates has been. I don't care. Not any of that stuff matters. I've always been able to find opportunity to serve. And if you can find opportunities to serve and find opportunities to create value, you'll always be employed. And that's the piece I think we need to handle. If you can find ways to serve and add value, you'll always be employed.
I love that. You're on point for sure. You probably know this about me, but I'm a big word person. Like, I'm a word nerd. I love words. And I coach my team on words, on just how to deliver information. Kind of walk us through, and I know you're big on this too, kind of walk us through maybe 5 words that you hear in our industry that we say, whether it's a real estate agent or a loan officer, and 5 other words that we could say that would be better for that type of moment or phrase. How about, I know you hear it all. You hear all the dirty from us.
How about you give me a word and I'll tell you the opposite?
Okay, so the word would be, I'm concerned.
I'm concerned. I'm excited to find a way through this. Because to me, a concern is about a puzzle. And I freaking love puzzles. And if I can figure out this puzzle, while everybody else is worried about being concerned and not doing anything, I have added value. So I'm excited. I'm finally turned on again because, hey, there's new things that are happening. Somebody else has figured this out. I want to be the one to figure it out too.
Yeah, that's great. Okay. Real estate crash. Crash is the word.
Well, one is it's not happening based on the data, right? So this is a real estate confusion time right now. And people are alarmist. And so people are, the only thing that if they know anything what a crash means, then run from them, because anybody that knows anything about what's going on isn't going to speak that kind of language. And anybody who's using the word crash is also an alarmist looking for attention in some way, shape, or form. So let's be smarter than that. And so it's not a real estate crash. There's a real estate opportunity right now.
Yeah. I love that. Bubble.
A bubble. So somebody says it's a real estate bubble. The first thing, if somebody were to say that, it's the first indication that they don't really know what's happening. And the first thing I can't do is attack that. And what I would ask them to say is, well, how would you define a bubble? Is it inflated values? I said, well, how can you have a bubble and a shortage at the same time?
Right.
Explain that one to me.
Yeah.
The truth is, you can't. And so I know that it's a scary time for you, but that does not equate to bubble or crash. There's certain things I'm scared of diving off the deep end. I'm scared of heights, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to die. And so my fear isn't equal to truth. And so let's challenge some of those things. And here's the best part. The most successful people in history made their wealth in times like this because they saw things that others didn't. Yeah. So I don't know what kind of person you want to be, but I kind of like that other equation better.
I love that. Okay. The number 1 worst word in the dictionary, can't.
I can't. My wife's family does not allow that word to be in there. Can't or try. Those are the 2 things that we're not allowed. I can't. Well, I think that immediately becomes a self-limiting behavior. When we say we can't, we stop immediately getting even out of the game, right? Well, I can't buy a home. No, maybe you just aren't able to at the moment. The word yet is a lot more powerful than can't. If we add the word yet, that opens the door to all the things that have to happen. One of my favorite questions is to say, what do you need to see from me to be able to achieve X, or for you to want to do X? What do you need to see from me for you to at least give me a shot on one deal? What do you need to see from me for you to bank me and to fund my loan? Well, we need to see all these things. Well, who has that information? And let me find it. But the word yet versus can't, I think, is the powerful combination.
I love that. Okay, last word out of my 5. I think that was 4. All right, no.
No. Request for more information. So somebody says no. If, let's assume a couple things. One, in certain situations, no is no, right? Let's make sure that we respect that. But if I know in my heart and my soul that what I'm communicating is a good thing, and I don't feel like I've communicated it well, that means that they're saying no to what you've offered so far. And most of us don't offer much value and ask for something. We say, well, would you like to buy? Well, buy what? In context of what? In solving what problem? In the exchange of what revenue and ROI? Mm-hmm. And if I haven't created any of the exchange or the comparison, well, they're saying no to the proposition that I've given them. And so I have to be able to take a look at the word no from a bigger context and be able to have self-awareness to say, well, if I presented the full value of everything and I've really truly listened to their needs, I should know the word no before they even say it because I have integrity. But if I know their situation and I know that they need to do this and they still say no, then I usually will ask the question. I said, look, I've outlined how this is going to be an opportunity for you. You've told me specifically that you're looking to do X, Y, and Z. And I've shown you how to do it to earn 6 times your investment. So usually when somebody tells me no in that scenario, it's for one of 2 reasons. Either they don't believe the numbers that we came up with from an ROI perspective, or second, you don't believe that I'm the one that can help you do it. And I won't be offended either way. Which of those 2 typically is it? And at that point, if they said, well, I believe in the numbers, we haven't worked together yet. Well, hey, I completely understand that. Here's a list of 5 people that I've worked with in the past. Here's some of my testimonials. And why don't we take this small baby step so you can get a feel for what it's like to do business with us. And then you can cut me off, fire me at any time. But I really am confident that I can show you how to achieve this. And so, we don't believe the numbers. Wonderful. Let's go back to the numbers. Let's build a model that's a little bit more comfortable for you. And I think there's a program out there that does that. Was it like Mortgage Coach or something like that? Yeah, something like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think we all have that access to it. But if you've laid out the value and it's clear that they need to do this and you truly care about your customers and are willing to walk away when it's not right for them and they say no, that means that you haven't communicated fully and you need to ask a few more questions. I
love that. So when we think about lending right now, and we know that interest rates are up, I do hear a lot of, so-and-so has a lower rate. So even though you were so fantastic and you brought so much value, and you showed me that mortgage coach and everything else, I got to go over here. I know you have great scripting around this because I've heard it, but let's walk through that because this is so pivotal right now.
So I want you to articulate the objection clearly for me in one sentence.
Lower rate.
So a lower rate. So somebody says there's a lower rate. And so have you ever heard of Alan Shepard?
No.
So Alan Shepard was the first American to enter space. And so imagine it's 1961, May 15th, 1961. He's sitting on top of what they call the Redstone rocket, this huge hunk of metal about to be launched off into space. Now imagine this. You're the first American to be launched off into space, and the world is watching with a bunch of engineers watching this thing they just built saying, you know what, I think it's going to work. And a reporter got a chance to ask Mr. Shepard how he was feeling. They went up to Mr. Shepard, you're about to be launched up into space as the first American. The world is watching, and we want to know what's going through your mind. And his answer will forever go down in history when he said, the fact that every bit of this rocket was built by the lowest bidder. And so when we think about that, there's a reality to a price and a cost of everything. If you were going on vacation right now, and it was a $5,000 vacation, show me a $5,000 vacation and I'll show you how I can get you there for $3,000. That'll save you $2,000, almost 50% of it. But there's a couple things that come with that. It's going to be within a 3-day time period. I can't tell you exactly which day you're going to fly on or which day you're going to land on, but it's going to be within that time period, you said. I don't know the airline or the hotel, but I think it's within, a 5-mile radius of where you want to be. And so, but I don't, it's not inclusive. It doesn't have any of those things, but I know that you can get to it with a walking distance. So would you be willing to put your family at risk to save that $2,000? Or is some level of certainty of being there on time, what you asked for and everything worth it? Well, to me, if you're like me, the $2,000 extra is a no-brainer for that. That's the scenario you run into with the lending process. There's over 200 steps and people that have to agree on this process to get this loan to happen. And you and I both know that good talent And people that know what they're doing cost just a little bit more. Just like you and what you do. You went to school so that you can compete in a marketplace to get paid more because you add more value. That's who we hired. People that dot their I's, cross their T's, because this business is about the details. And the last thing you want to do is save a few bucks on an interest rate only to show up that day on a loan that doesn't close. Now, if this isn't a big deal, and now here's the thing about today, a little caveat. There's 5 people waiting to buy that same home. So if there's any mistake, any change in closing date, you lose the home because the home buyer is going to say, oh, there's a problem, go with the next one. They're not there to serve you. They're there to sell their home to the person that can buy it now. And so that is what we've identified as value to the marketplace. Now, that may not be of value to you. And if that's not of value to you, then there is plenty of people that will do it better. I know tattoo artists that can draw dragons that'll cost you $10,000, but I know my cousin that'll do it for $50. So you tell me which one that's going to be a permanent implant on your body or a permanent financial imprint on your life. Who do you want that in the hands of? The amateur, lowest price bidder, or the professional that has a charge for what they do? That's a choice you have to make.
I love that. Renee, I know you have 2 minutes left, so go ahead and just wrap us up. I so appreciate you, first of all. I mean, thank you, thank you, thank you. I know you did this for a favor, and I just appreciate you sharing your knowledge, your mindset, and giving us those tactics and information we need to be better today.
No, any chance you give me a chance to talk about what I love and hanging out with you is always great, and I love the mortgage coach community. So this is always a lot of fun. I'll leave you with this. This community is full of experts, positive people that back the positivity with data and experience. Surround yourself in the group that is within this group. Take a look at who you hang out with, who you spend your time with, and manage what it is that you're thinking. Continue to go down the path of becoming an expert at what you do so that you have your own personal knowledge, that you can be that shining light. But sometimes the light isn't about the knowledge. The light is just about a refreshing attitude towards being curious. And here's what I've come to find. If you search for negative shit in the world, you'll find a fair share of negative shit. But if you search for what's good, what's promising, and what's hopeful, you're going to find all that too. You just got to decide who you are. And also you got to ask yourself, who do your realtor partners want to work with? If you're a realtor, who do you want to be? And who are you in the marketplace? Can you find somebody that shares your same common beliefs and your same common values and say, you know what? Let's find people that not only know what they're doing, but create the same customer experience as we do. So my hope for you all is that you take into account who you are, who you want to be in this marketplace, have the self-awareness to be able to look in the mirror and be honest with the answer, and then the discipline to make the changes necessary. Because right now we need guiding lights more than ever. And my hope is that you all decide to shine. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we'll let you go. I know you've got another call you have to hop on. For those of you that are still on the call, just know that I'm here if you want to ask questions in chat. Happy to jump into any of that. Let's give Renee a big woo!
Thank you. Please follow me on Instagram. I keep remember to do that. And see Renee speak. And oh yes, buy the book. Book would be great too. Buy the book
on Amazon. It's going Audible on August 8th?
August 9th.
August 9th. Okay.
Yep. And it's actually me reading it, so that'll be kind of fun.
Oh, that'll be perfect. I love it.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thanks,
love you all. Take care.
All right, guys, we have about 4 minutes left. And was that not amazing? I mean, I love just listening to him. And I love this whole kind of concept of just, we get to control what we put in our brains. And I know that's why so many of you are involved in Mortgage Coach, because we do get to surround ourselves with people like that, people that want to lift others up and teach each other things. And I love that so much about this community. And we get to take that to the street on our real estate partners. And now more than ever, I think there's some fantastic tactics that we can use within Mortgage Coach itself, such as the seller buy down, also the open house flyers, and then a seller buy down component to the open house flyer, which is already built into it. So if you guys aren't doing that yet, check it out. We have made that shift and we are absolutely, I mean, open houses are back. So we've got to get that digital finance TCA out to our real estate partners so they can share that with prospects that are coming through those houses and hopefully be able to get quality information to that potential buyer and then engage them in a conversation. So we're loving that. And we are absolutely using the seller buy down tools to be able to show our listing agents, in lieu of reducing that price, what else can happen. So those are some of the tactical things we're doing in Mortgage Coach. But to Dave Savage and this entire community, I mean, gosh, I think I've been in this now, I don't know, a long time. I'm aging myself, but at least 15 years. Thank you so much for all you do and for sharing and being the light in not only your businesses, but within this community itself. So do we have any questions or anything else that we need to talk about today? We're good? All right. Okay, guys. So remember, be the light today. Get out there. If you're not shooting video and you want to figure out how to shoot video, contact me or join our Facebook real estate video influencer group. We're going to teach you some of the tactics. But guys, it's okay to start somewhere, but share your messaging, be the light, and get out in your communities, talk, write, and just communicate what is available today and where those opportunities are, because you and I both know they exist. Thank you guys so much for having me today. And Dave, hopefully this is what you needed for this Tuesday takeover. I'm so glad that you asked me to jump in and do that today. So we'll see Dave again on next Tuesday. But for now, you guys have a fantastic day and we'll talk soon. Bye.